evening and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 281st take live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Bear Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show. We got a first-time guest tonight, and I'm so excited to bring this gentleman on. It's going to be an amazing show. We're going to talk about an amazing journey and some incredible cigars to boot. So definitely stick around for this one. You don't want to miss it. But before we get to formal introductions of our guest of honor, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible. That, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate is doing it again, once again, with the Freestyle Live event packs, sometimes called mystery packs. They've offered a pre-launch experience for consumers who wish to deeply engage in each of Drew Estate's new production releases. The exclusive packs introduced during Freestyle Live special edition broadcasts, which was actually held a month ago today, have an MSRP of about $40 and are actually worth way more. Each pack contains 3 mystery premium cigars without brand identification, a sleek Freestyle Live high-quality torch lighter, cigar cutter, and a Freestyle Live leather keychain strap. In addition to these premium items, each event pack includes a Freestyle Live badge equipped with a unique QR code that allows purchasers to enter a sweepstakes for a chance to win extraordinary prizes. The grand prizes, of course, a luxury custom pool table valued at $11,500. And a first place prize of a laptop valued at $4,600. Additionally, 10 luxury lucky entrants will win a custom Subculture Studios ashtray valued at $150 each. Jonathan Drew, founder and president of Drew Estate from the Windwheel Cocktail Lounge in Miami State. Freestyle Live is an event with an important purpose that always creates a big buzz for our brick and mortar premium cigar partners. We want cigar consumers to be in the cut with us, celebrating each new cigar release together. We love our people. So if you want to check out what the new cigar is that Drew Estate is launching through this Freestyle Live pack, check out the Freestyle Live event on March 14th, just less than 1 month away. We find out what the new cigar is from the Freestyle Live packs. And welcome, everyone. This is our 281st take. So without further ado, let's get to introductions of our guest of honor. Tonight's guest is sponsored by United Cigars. Smoke one today and start living united. Mr. Aric Bey of Black Star Line Cigars. Aric, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, brother. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us tonight. I this has been a long time coming. I've wanted you to have you on the show, and I finally got around to asking you, and we finally got around to making it happen. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. So, there were a couple of things I wanted to kick things off with. I've interviews that I've read of yours and some other conversations and everything that I've heard you have and stuff like that. But I was really enjoying going down your Facebook feed, man. You're really, I don't know if you know Chrissy Critchfield from Kentucky, man. She's a big meme fanatic, but you kind of you rival her on the memes, dude. Like there's some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
It's
like the post to make people laugh, bro.
Yeah, man, there were some good ones, dude. The Sesame Street ones were really we're really getting me going. But what is it? You I think you kind of just said it. You just kind of like to do it just to give people a chuckle, or what?
Yeah, just having fun. You know, some people are having a bad day, man. They might see a meme and laugh and they brighten their day up. So yeah, just having fun. I like to laugh at stuff and have a good time.
Yeah, that's good. Have you ever created your own?
No, never.
No.
I just take other people's work and use it.
I have this app called Meme-matic, and like every so often I usually do it like as inside circles. I don't like doing for like public and stuff. Like I'll if text through I'm in several, I'm sure you are too. I'm in several text threads, and so like I'll grab pictures of the members and like create my own memes and stuff like that. And it's a fun little app. You get to have some fun with it and everything.
Oh yeah.
Where were we before memes, man? Like before, like seriously, like I feel like they've been around forever, but I think it's only been like 5 years that they've really been kind of prominent. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you just talk about people to their face. That's all.
I guess that was what it was. It's awesome. Where do you find them? Like, do you just like when you're scrolling and stuff and you save them?
Yeah, just scrolling through it on the timeline, bro.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, I'm really excited. I know you've already lit up and everything, and you're smoking tonight. But I was just seeing. I've got a couple cigars here, and as a tradition here on the show, I always ask my guest of honor to pick my
Hmm.
cigar for me. You, of course, know what they are because I talked to you a little bit about. But let me go ahead and introduce them to our audience as well. But I think you'll like your choices of selection tonight. All from Black Star Line Cigars, of course. I've got the Rosewood, 1923.
Hmm.
I have I have two War Witches. I have the War Witch Connecticut and the Dark War Witch as well.
Yeah.
So got those. So what cigar would you like me to smoke tonight, sir?
Smoke the dark Woolwich. That's what I'm smoking right now. So
Okay,
smoke with me.
you got it, man. You got it. So I know we're going to talk a little bit more about your cigars here in just a little bit too, but um, w- tell us a little bit about this cigar. It's the second in the War Witch line. I
It
know,
is.
but tell us a little bit about this cigar.
Dark Woolwich is the follow-up version, like you said, to the Connecticut Woolwich. Connecticut Woolwich was the original one that came out a few years back. Dark Woolwich is it's the same blend, but it's a Corojo 99 wrapper instead of the Connecticut shade, and then it has more Ligero in it to make it a little stronger.
Okay,
So yeah, everybody wanted a darker version of the Woolwich, and that's what I came out with.
nice, nice. It's a beautiful looking wrapper, man. I love the right off the get. I love the smell on
Hmm.
this. So
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna reveal something. This is the first time I've ever had this cigar, so I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited to be smoking it with you. So, and this one's manufactured in Nicaragua, correct?
Yeah, Aganorsa Leaf. Yeah,
Aganorsa.
Aganorsa Leaf produce the majority of the cigars that I make.
Hmm.
I do deal with Tabacalera La Isla in Santiago, Dominican Republic, and I also roll at Oveja Negra.
Hmm.
That's Black Label Trading Company. And then I added another factory in. It's La Zona, Espinosa Cigars. So I'm doing something with them this year as well.
Oh, that's exciting. And so you working hand in hand with Hector?
Yep,
Oh
yep,
man,
yep,
that's
yep.
exciting. Oh, well, just count you can already count it in the bag, Aric. I'm already gonna love this cigar. That I say this all the time. Hector, the way that Hector and Aric blend, they something about their signature, man. That I very I can't I have one I can count one cigar of theirs that I didn't particularly care for that didn't hit my
Yeah,
palate, but everything else just
yeah.
freaking works. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a
Well,
great factory.
that's exciting. Will you be announcing that cigar at PCA this year?
Yeah, so I just paid the factory, so they just started rolling, but I will have some limited samples at PCA for for people to try.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
then they should be shipping like mid-May, June, early June, somewhere in there.
Okay. All
So
right.
they'll be in
Okay.
stores like just around the time for the summertime.
Rock on. So a pretty quick turnaround. That's awesome. Fantastic. Well, beautiful,
Hmm.
beautiful. Well, let's get into it. Um, speaking of Lazona, we got our tonight's major point is always brought to you by the people. Yes, cigar people, the people who know everything about a lifetime of service. Protocol Cigars is more than just pool parties and good times. Well, maybe it is. But behind the fun is a motivation for service, a motivation for giving back. From the original Protocol Blue to the latest release in the Lawman series, Phoebe Cousins' Protocol has always been about honor, passion, and yes, the people. It's what their life's work has been and always will be about. Power of the P, Protocol Cigars. So Aric, kind of wanted to take a step back. Again, this is your first time on the show, and I wanted to
Hmm.
kind of explore a little bit about your story and background and everything. Um, and again, just really excited to kind of explore the journey a little bit with you. As we kind of
Hmm.
smoke your cigars together. What did you say you were pouring? You said you were drinking something too?
I am drinking Hewling Station.
Okay.
It's out of Memphis. So let me
Oh,
get in the
nice,
camera there. There you go. It's a bourbon,
nice,
100 proof.
sweet. All right, so I've got a Russell Reserve Rye, 6-year age, 90 proof, and then I've got some Talisker, single malt, Scotch
Mm.
whiskey, 10-year. What do you think would go good with the?
Go with the Russell.
All right, you got it. Fantastic. All right. Well, wonderful. So, Eric, okay, I know we're gonna get into your time in Chicago and stuff. Is that where you grew up, though? Did you grow up in Chicago?
I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago. So I grew up
Okay,
in Glenwood.
okay,
It's not too far out of Chicago. But I live in Chicago. I've been living in Chicago for years though.
okay. Okay, like I don't want to like, I'm gonna totally like just step in. I'm not as familiar with Chicago and everything, but so would you
Hmm.
consider yourself a South Sider?
Yeah, I live in the south side right now.
Okay, okay, okay.
Hmm.
So are you a White Sox fan or?
Actually, baseball bores me, bro.
Oh
So
man,
it's not.
okay.
It's not enough going on in there. One of my favorite athletes ever was Bo Jackson, and when he was playing for the White Sox back in the day, I went to see him play, and I fell asleep. And then 10 years after that, I took my son. I took my son to his first baseball game. I had one beer, bro, and I fell asleep. It didn't hold my attention. You
That's oh
know,
God, that's funny.
football, basketball, boxing. Yeah, it's a little more action going on, so it holds my attention a little bit better.
Uh oh,
Mm.
I'm a baseball nut, man. I'm a huge baseball guy, so that's why my question actually went there and everything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, this is going to be the double whammy. You don't like baseball, but does that make you? Are you also a Bears fan too?
Yeah, 85 Bears.
Okay, the 85 Bears.
So,
So,
yeah, I'm an era fan. So when a lot of my favorite players retire, I retire with them. So I don't really watch as much as I used to. I used to know stats and all kinds of stuff with sports and all that. I just, Kobe was the last one out of all sports. And when he retired, I was like completely done. So a lot of the newer players, I don't know their names. I can walk, one can walk past my house right now, I wouldn't know who they are.
yeah,
So it's just that they don't interest me that much anymore. You know.
yeah. I don't know as much of the younger stars in the league, the NBA anymore. I mean, I know my team. I'm a Celtics fan.
Hmm.
So Celtics, Red Sox, Boston Bruins for hockey, and then the Packers for football. This is why I say we're gonna have a double whammy if you're a Bears fan too. Um, but um, but yeah, the NBA, there's just a younger contingent there. Just a lot of names. I'm like, who the heck is that? And they're like, oh, this is a four-time
Yeah.
All-Star. I'm like, wow, I missed that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but
Mhm.
so I mean, sorry, are you just not watching very much mini sports now? Because you, like you said, or you're kind of done, or like,
Yeah, I mean, I watch like playoffs and like bigger games like the Super Bowl, when it's like, either win or go home, because that's when everybody's really, really playing because they want to win. I
right?
watch those type of games, but just regular season games, nah. If I'm in a cigar lounge and it's on, I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it, but it's not in my blood anymore.
Yeah, gotcha. What'd you think of the Super Bowl last week? That was a pretty fantastic game.
Yeah, it was a good game. Yeah, it was a good game.
I had a good time.
I thought the 49ers were going to pull it out and they shit the bed. So, hey, Casey
Yeah.
got it.
Man, the video circulating social media this week with all this 49er fans just going ape shit. Like some were trashing TVs and stuff. I was making like I'm a huge sports fan. Like and I follow my teams and I'm still very much into my teams and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I mean when they lose, it sucks. I just can't imagine losing my mind so much that I'm just like damaging property or like
Yeah,
like
that's absurd.
crazy. It really is insane. Like it was really nuts just to see some of those videos flowing around. It was crazy. But
Hmm.
so growing up in Chicago, and then you ended up becoming a firefighter. I know that. Did you and I see the banner behind you. I was actually going to ask this. I know you're a member of Kappa Alpha Psi.
I
Um,
am 27
which
years.
it's a I mean that's a pretty prestigious fraternity. I mean that goes back. It's the into there. I mean it goes back to like I actually we've random fact. I actually know some of the story. You're probably going to correct me though on it, but I mean it
Mm.
started in Indiana University, right?
Yep,
Um,
1911.
yeah, I mean, it was one of the very first. It was like the first, correct? The first black fraternity, or the second. It was
Alpha Phi
Cap.
Alpha was before us.
That's right. Okay, okay.
Mm.
And it was actually Kappa Alpha New, right? Before it was Kappa
You
Alpha
got
Psi.
it.
Okay,
Yep. And then my chapter came and it changed the Kappa Alpha side.
right.
So I'm from the Beta chapter, Greater Beta, and yeah. So the name was changed at my school. So my chapter is very significant to the organization because there
Okay,
was no Kappa Alpha side before my chapter.
right on. So and then where did you go to school again?
University of Illinois, Champaign, Urbana.
Denver. Okay. Um, and when did that so I mean, when did the beta chapter come around? When was that? When were you?
1913. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
okay,
mhm.
so pretty quick, pretty quick. I man, I was doing a little bit. I actually knew a little bit of the story of Kappa Alpha Psi. I knew a couple of guys that I went to school with that were members, so that's where I knew a little bit about it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
but it's a great organization, great network. Really
Hmm.
fantastic people. There's some pretty popular alumni too that have been a member, other than yourself, of course, and everything. But I here's a question I've never had the opportunity to ask on the show, as being a part of a
Hmm.
fraternity and stuff, because it's never really come up. Like, what are what are some of the benefits that you've seen of being, again, longstanding? It's got a
Hmm.
massive membership.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that have probably some people in my audience that probably never been exposed to any type of
Hmm.
Greek system or any kind of fraternal order or anything like that. What are some of the, I guess, I mean, you've been out of college about as long as I have. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, how long? Like, what are some of the benefits still of being part of that organization?
It's a lifelong brotherhood, a lifelong network. I've gotten jobs because I'm a new. Um, we help each other as much as we can. When one brother needs money or anything like that, we are always taking care of each other, and we're always doing work. We're always doing charity and helping the community as well. So it's a lifelong brotherhood, and it's one of the best things that I could have done in my life is joining Kappa Alpha Psi.
Um, what's um, so it's unlike, like, because like I was part of a Christian fraternity in college too, as well, and like there's we still get together and everything like that, and yeah, it's I mean, it runs deep as well in the terms of, like,
Mm-hmm.
like brothers helping out other stuff and everything. But like, I mean, it's still like it's like almost like a not just what you kind of described, but it's also like a lifelong membership. Like once you're in, like it's not just a college thing.
Right.
It's like I mean, you guys are still like you guys still get together. Like there's still tons of alumni events. There's
Yeah.
still tons of like
Yeah.
charity events, as you mentioned too. Like
Hmm.
tell tell me about there's a pretty infamous Founders Day too, right? Or Founders
Yeah.
event
January
that you
5th. Yeah.
okay.
Call it J5. Yep.
Okay. What like what kind of stuff goes around that particular?
Parties, bro. Yeah, they just partying.
Just a good time. Okay.
Everybody's getting together. They partying. Yeah, it's just a good time. Yeah.
Nice.
So they're celebrating the anniversary of the fraternity being founded.
That's awesome, man.
Mm.
Um you mentioned that you've gotten a job before. Was that through the fire department or was that post retirement from the fire department?
No, it was way before.
Way
Way
before. Okay.
before. Like, yeah, like jobs with the banks, CDW. I gotten jobs through Kappas that already work there. So it's like I said, it's a great networking because it's brothers all over the world. And you can go to a different city and run into a brother from Kappa Alpha side, and they'll look out for you. Tell you where to go. Um, hang out with you, make sure you're all right when you're in their city, that type of thing. So. Mhm.
Um what are because I know I was trying to think off the top of my head. I had to look up a couple of, but because I knew like Martin Luther King was an alpha, right? He was an
Yep.
alpha. Jordan is an
Mhm.
alpha too, right? Michael Jordan was an alpha as well.
Omega, Omega
Omega,
Psi Phi.
Omega Psi. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, what are some of the notable alumni from Kappa Alpha Psi that you I guess that you
Crash, Will Chamberlain, yeah, John Singleton. He's part of the reason why I named the cigar Rosewood 1923 because John Singleton did a movie about Rosewood back
hmm
in the early 90s, and he passed away maybe about 4 years ago, I think it is. So I
yeah,
wanted to
that was
pay
such
homage to him. Hmm.
one of my favorite directors, man. Like him and F. Gary Gray, it just
Hmm.
made some really cool films, include that, and then
Hmm.
yeah, especially that Rosewood. Man, that never God. If he had had the juice that he had towards the end of his career, that
Hmm.
film could have been fucking fire. Like
Yeah,
that really could have done something.
yeah, it was earlier on in his career. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I wanted to talk to a film because I know you're a huge film guy too. Um,
Hmm.
but like that was one of the things that I find that sometimes films are made too early, or the
Hmm.
people that make them are too like early in their careers, and then there's times that they like absolutely hit. Um, because I know you're a big Spike fan. Spike
Hmm.
Lee. I'm a huge Spike Lee fan. And Do the Right
Hmm.
Thing is probably one of my favorite films.
Yeah, it's
And
a
I
great
and I
movie.
and I know it's one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but I also know that The Godfather 2 is one of your favorite films as well.
Yeah, that's a great movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What okay,
Hmm.
so here's the hot take, right? So we did a on this show we did a movie we do a movie episode twice a year. I bring on a couple guests. We just talk about a movie specifically.
Hmm.
So we did The Godfather's 50th anniversary, the first one.
Okay.
I, I think you agree with me on this. Here's my hot take. The Godfather 2, like Godfather 1 is the more iconic, more rewatchable, more like the more quotable one, but
Hmm.
The Godfather 2 is a better film.
Yeah, just like the first Alien and then Aliens, the sequel was better than the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of the
so.
really rare cases where the sequel actually is just better. It's
Hmm.
just like it's a better film. Yeah. Robert De Niro is absolutely amazing in Godfather
Oh
2.
yeah.
I freaking love it. It's unbelievable. What is it about the what is it about Godfather 2 that you really like? Like what when did you
Uh,
watch it pretty early, or is it like something you picked up later on in life?
I think I saw it when I was a kid. I mean, with Michael Corleone, it was more of him in there, and it developed more of his story instead of talking about his father and the
Yeah.
brothers and all that. It was more so him and his journey and how he became the Godfather. So then I like how they flashed back and, like you said, went to Robert De Niro and talked about that. So it kind of mixed in the past and then it mixed in the present of Michael Corleone. So. Hmm.
The first time I saw it, I really confess like the back and forth really threw me.
Hmm.
Now like everybody does that in film. Like
Yeah.
everybody. There's so many like every movie there's like these fast, these fast forwards and rewinds and stuff in film, like in alternate realities and stuff like and it
Hmm.
all goes back to The Godfather too. Like that was the original, like Francis Ford Coppola really put that on the map and stuff. Like it was really good.
Yeah.
What's been a recent film of yours that that you've gone and you're just like, man, this is like one of my new favorites. Like just
Well, I actually just watched Beekeeper last night. That was a good movie.
Oh really?
Yeah, with
Okay.
Jason
Jason
Statham.
Statham. Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
I like Jason Statham. I need to check that out. That the most attractive name, Beekeeper, but I'm sure it was good. He doesn't make a bad movie.
Yeah, it's in the
So
vein of like John Wick, a lot of action, a lot
mhm.
of shootings, that type of thing. So.
John Wick is so good.
Hmm.
That's such a good series. That's fantastic.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Um, we have a comment in the chat. I have to ask though. Okay, so Godfather 2, we like it more than Godfather 1. What's your take on Godfather 3? This is always a hot button issue with people.
I mean, I liked it. Andy Garcia was good in that movie. I'm a fan of Andy Garcia.
Yeah.
Um, it was good. I mean, it wasn't like part two, but it was a good follow up to it. And it was enjoyable and entertaining.
I think that's the best compliment I can give it. It was entertaining. There's some
Yeah.
like Andy Garcia's good in it. There's some pretty atrocious acting in it though. Like Sofia Coppola is really bad. She's they needs to stick to directing.
Mm.
She's awful in it. But man, entertaining is probably it's a nice wrap up and conclusionary story. I like how
Yeah.
they tied in the Vatican. It was really interesting. For sure
Hmm.
and stuff. But what other what other Spike going back to Spike Lee, what other because one of my favorite like most underrated films I feel like is one of Spike Lee's films that no one really talks about. It's the 25th
Mm.
Hour. I love the 25th Hour.
Oh, with
Like Edward
but
Norton,
yeah, Edward Norton is in there. Yeah, yeah, that
Philip.
was pretty good. I don't remember it whole. I think I only seen it once or twice.
Yeah,
Um, Clockers is one of my favorites for Spike Lee. He Got Game was good. The soundtrack was excellent. With
yeah.
Public Enemy on there. I mean, Spike Lee's got a bunch of really good movies.
Yes.
School Days is one of my favorite ones. Because it talks about pledging in college life and all that stuff. So yeah, so School Days was excellent too.
Loved Malcolm X was iconic. It's a
Hmm.
it's a shame it
That's
took
probably
him.
his best one.
Yeah, it's a shame that it took him like almost 30 more years to win an Oscar. He should have won it for that film. That was incredible.
Hmm.
Incredible
Hmm.
filmmaking. The Black Klansman, what he actually did win it for was actually it was is incredible too. That's a great film.
Yeah,
Um Inside Man. Um
yeah, I've seen that one too.
yeah, him and Denzel.
Denzel's in that one.
Yeah, him and Denzel really team up. Mo Better Blues and then
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Denzel was actually supposed to be and do the right thing, but he had a scheduling conflict. I don't
Ah, I
know.
didn't
I
know
don't know.
that.
I don't know what he was going to be though. Like I look back and I'm like, what could he have done?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's such a great actor. He could have played any role in there though.
Yeah, I guess
So.
that's true for sure. So anyway, going back to time in Chicago, and
Hmm.
obviously you're growing up there, everything, and then you became a firefighter. And how
Hmm.
long you were 20 plus years, right?
No, I was on the job 7 years,
7 years.
and
Okay.
yeah, I got hurt. I tore my labrum in my hip really bad, and I herniated a disc in my lower back.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I actually had to have surgery on my hip, and because my labrum was torn really bad, and I had to go through four doctors to find one that was competent enough to fix it. So I found one that was able to fix it, but it still hurts. I sit here and it hurts.
Oh
So
gosh.
I was effectively put on duty disability, and I just sell cigars, bro.
Well, man, that stinks. Was did it happen during a call or was it during a training exercise or like what
I was I was extricating the kid out of a car. So
okay.
when I popped the door to get the door open, I slipped, and one leg went one way and one went the other, and then that was it. So.
Jeez.
Mhm.
Wait, again, it's kind of hard to go back and stuff like that, but if would do you think if do you think you would still be on the job today? Do you think you would have made it a career?
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
I would have done at least 20 years.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Did
at
you really
least 20.
you really enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's a great job, bro. Great job. I've saved lives. I saved property, and I wasn't a lazy firefighter. I was always working at an active firehouse, so I was on truck 24. It's tower ladder 24 now. But yeah, I've gone to a lot of fires, so I've made my mark, and I did what I needed I did what I needed to do for the community, and now it's time for some younger guys to do it.
I have some really close friends of mine that are firefighters down here in Texas. Chicago, like I hear, and you just said you were part of a really active firehouse and everything like that. And I know that each
Mm-hmm.
the district is different. Like my buddy's down in Dallas, and he like he
Mm-hmm.
he he was for a while. He's bumped around a couple of times, but he was really he was a really slow firehouse when it drove him crazy and everything. And I was like, "What do you mean a slow fire?" He's like, "Dude, they're slow and there's not slows." And he explained that whole thing to me and everything. But Chicago is
Mm-hmm.
like kind of renowned for being. I'm sure it's the same way. I'm sure there's pockets, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty active fire department. Like you there's
Mm-hmm.
always something going on and there's a lot of moving and stuff around. Is
Yeah,
that
there's some areas where you'll get all medical calls. There's some areas where you get all fires. There's some areas where you get a mix, and there's some areas where you do nothing. Like you work at the airport, you're not doing anything, literally. And you'll be 24 hours. You'll be trying to find something to do. So, um, but like on the south side and on the west side, that's really like the hot areas where people that want to be active in the fire department, that's where they go to work.
that's
Mhm.
but so there's a lot because like that's something that's still like even down here in Texas, like fires are few and far between, which is interesting. But there's a lot there are some areas in Chicago where fires are pretty, like you said, pretty prominent and they happen consistently. You're laughing at
Almost
me.
every
I
day,
don't know,
twice a
man.
day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy to me. That's just
Yeah, yeah, dude. Like, yeah, depending on where you're working at, you might go to a fire every shift or more than one every shift.
well, I know it's because Chicago's like an older city and there's like older homes and
Mhm.
older neighborhoods and stuff like that. Is that what is that why it is or
I've been I've been to fires where we got a call for one fire, And I showed up and there was three fires because some of the houses are close together. So the fire start in one house and then the fire jump over to another house and start that fire. And then you got a real long night ahead of you.
I love
So
that. I love asking this question of like servicemen, first responders. And since we talked about movies already, what's the worst movie that you've seen that's a representation of firefighting, or TV show? I'll throw that in there.
Chicago Fire is one of them.
The worst.
Back, yeah, Backdraft is entertaining, but it's not. It's a movie.
Most
Yeah,
people quote Backdraft. They're like, "It's Backdraft is awful. It's the worst." It's like,
yeah. If you actually know the job, yeah, none of the stuff they're doing in there, no, we wouldn't do that. So
my favorite part about
mhm.
Backdraft is their when they're going back through a warehouse or whatever that they just put a fire out and they're all lighting up cigarettes and stuff. That's my favorite. I'm like, that just doesn't seem right to me. I feel like that would be a problem. Uh,
Yeah, back in the day, they would be doing overhaul because when the fire is put out and we're still pulling walls to make sure that the fire is not in the walls or in the ceiling and stuff like that. And some guys would have their mask off and they would smoke cigars while they're doing it.
oh wow.
It's not the smartest thing to do, but some people did it.
Okay, so that's a little accurate. Okay, that just seems kind of weird to me. Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it
You learn
happens.
something. You learn something new every day. Awesome.
Inhaling burning plastic and stuff like that. It's not too smart, but some people do it.
Um, oh, interesting. I the speed of Chicago Fire. Just the TV aspect. I also know you're a huge fan of a show that I really love too. Is one of my favorites in the last few years. Is Sons of Anarchy. Right? You're
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
yeah. So that's a great show.
oh man, it
Breaking Bad.
was
Yeah,
one of my favorites. I love Sons of Anarchy. It was fantastic. Who's your favorite character? That's always my favorite thing to ask because there's
and
so many.
Sons.
Yeah, in Sons, like there's so many good
Uh,
ones.
Chibs or Jax. Yeah, those Chibs was
Chips,
he was cold on the show.
yeah, it was good.
So
Um, Opie's death scene is probably up there. It's probably one of the most horrific death
yeah,
scenes in television, man. Like the most
yeah,
tragic.
that was
Like,
sad.
yeah, I
But
fucking cried.
when Jack
I cried, man. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I cried. I cried real
when
bad.
Jax got that revenge on the guy,
Yeah,
that
that was
was great.
yes, absolutely. They they brought in some killer villains, like some great character actors, like Ron Perneau that played that guy. They
Hmm.
brought in to be the he was like the villain of the season and stuff. They brought in some really great character actors over the years to like bring it in. Like Adam Arkin was good. He's usually a good guy. He played a really good bad guy. It was really great.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Ron Perlman is Clay Morrow. I think that was a really great performance by him. I think he really did too.
Yeah. That's
So
one of my favorite performances he's done. Is in
yeah,
Sons Anarchy.
good stuff. Awesome. Well, wanted to dive obviously back into cigars. So okay, so you got hurt on the job, and
Hmm.
everything. What did you was cigars the first foray after life settled down, or did you try day jobs? Like what how did that
No, I
transpire?
actually started the company when I was still on the job. It
Okay.
was just in the infant stages of the company. And then I got hurt shortly after that. And then I just started promoting the company more because I knew that was going to be my bread and butter. I haven't had another job since the fire department. So that was my last formal job. Before that, I was in law school. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep. I was a licensed banker with Chase.
Oh wow.
I've sold computer parts with CDW. I sold just about everything you can think of. In my early 20s, I had a business where I was selling cologne on the street, like knockoff colognes. I would sell that on the streets, So I've sold a lot of stuff, though.
Always
You know,
hustling, man. That's crazy.
you know,
What where were you going to law school at?
John Marshall, it's downtown Chicago.
Okay.
So I was a 2L there. That's the second year, and I was in the middle of the second year, and I got the letter to be invited to become a firefighter and go to the fire academy. So I had to make a choice on whether or not I was going to continue law school or go to the fire academy because here in Chicago, the age cutoff to be a firefighter is 38, and when they sent the letter, I was 37. So
Oh
I
wow.
was like, I could always go back to law school, but I mean, this is one and done for the fire department. So, and there's a lot of broke lawyers out there, and Becoming a firefighter in Chicago is like hitting the lottery, because it's thousands of people that take the test when they have it. People come from all over the nation to try to become a firefighter here,
Right.
because not only is it a great job, but they pay very well too. You work 85 days a year and you're making six figures. So it's like a part-time job that you're making six figures. A dangerous part-time job, but you're making
Yeah.
a really good living in 85 days out of the year. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to the fire department, and if I had a feeling to go back to law school, I will. I never did. My attention span isn't there anymore. If I sit down too long in a class, I'll go to sleep. My attention span isn't there anymore.
Spent a lot of time napping, Aric.
Oh yeah,
Baseball
oh
games,
yeah.
law school.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, that was gonna be my question. If you ever had an inkling to go back and stuff, just for posterity or anything like that, but just to finish it.
No, I'm already 400,000 deep in student loans, so I don't want to add anything else to
Yeah.
that. So
There you go.
yeah.
There you go. We'll come by to see you at PCA, and Ben, who's a member of my our team on the Cigar Coop Coalition, he's really big into fragrances too. I'm sure you guys can talk a little shop there too, from your
Cool.
hustling days.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but man, so you started while you were on the job. Like what? So what first got you into cigars? Like what? I mean,
Mm.
were you introduced to it in the fraternity or at the firehouse, or like when did that all
Firehouse.
start? Okay.
Yeah, I started smoking full time at the firehouse. I've had one or two cigars before that. Like I was off in the Bahamas, and I didn't know anything about cigars. And you buy a cigar, and I don't even know what it was. It's probably terrible, or some kind of knockoff like Cohiba or something like that, because I didn't know any better. But that was like one or two times, and then I started smoking more at the firehouse, and then that's where I grew my love of the leaf, and then that's what spawned me to want to start Black Star Line.
I'm smoking this dark Warwich, man, and it is incredible. You can tell, like you mentioned about the Ligero that you guys put in the blend. Holy cow, man! You
Yeah.
can taste it, but it's good. Like it's not overpowering. Like I really get it on the retro hill. You really pick up that strength in the retro, but like on the
Right.
mouthfeel, like it's just really nice and rich, and there's some really good
Mm-hmm.
spiciness to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
this is fantastic, man. I mean, you did a. I mean, you never. Sometimes there's like, I mean, like respectfully, sometimes it's like hit or miss sometimes, but you did tweak the blend, you said yourself, by adding more of the hero. But like whenever
Right.
I think like Perdomo's a really good example of this. They've really mastered the changing of the wrapper, but the blend kind of stays the same. And I think a lot of people, kind of followed that model for a while, and it just
Mm-hmm.
they just missed. They just weren't doing
Yeah.
it good. And I think as cigar manufacturers have improved and maintained over the years, like they found like, okay, well, we can introduce a dark or a Maduro or a different version or Corojo or
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to call it, and tweak the blend and still stay on brand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's really good. It's really, really enjoyable. So
Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
man, I'm stoked. I'm stoked. I'm gonna light up the rosewood too if I get to a second cigar tonight. I'm like, holy cow, this is good. I'm gonna smoke the original Warwich tomorrow morning, I think. But
Okay.
man, this is damn good. So I do want to give a nod to Lone Star Cigars. I picked these up. Trey Andrews was kind enough to hook me up before he went joined back the rep ranks. He joined
Mm-hmm.
EP Carrillo as with his second stint for them, but he was able to get me these sent over to me. So which was really, really kind of him. Um,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah,
got a
Trey's a
couple.
good dude.
Yeah, you got some great partners here in Texas, Underground Cigars. We got a couple
Mm-hmm.
people in the chat asking where they can get us. I know one of the biggest accounts that you landed very early on, and true to the region you're in, was Benny's, right? You even have an exclusive with them.
But that wasn't
And
early on. That was I've only been in Benny's maybe about 2 years now.
okay, what was
Yeah.
what was one of what was the first account you landed? Where did the cigar
Underground.
start? Underground
Yeah,
was the first one.
Underground Cigar Shop. Yep. That was the very first cigar lounge in the entire nation that took a chance on a brand new company. And the reason why Don brought us in was I was always a customer of Underground, and I was talking to him on the phone about an order that I had, or tracking numbers or whatever. So I mentioned to him that I had a cigar coming out, and I'm sure he's probably heard that about a billion times.
Probably.
So he's like, oh, okay, cool. You got a cigar coming out. And I was like, yeah, it's coming out of El Titen de Bronze. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, man, it's coming out of El Titen. He was like, dude, that's my favorite factory. I was like, no, I didn't know that. And then he says, you gonna sell it through here, right? And at the time, I didn't know anything about the business or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, if you want it, yeah, you could definitely have it. So he was my very first customer. He bought a bunch of boxes from me, and he hadn't even smoked the cigar. He just went off the strength of the factory that it came from.
That's great.
And for those that don't know, El Titen de Bronze is Willie Herrera's family. So I'm like Willie Herrera from Drew Estates. So I'm like a baby cousin to Drew Estates.
Yeah.
So yeah, El Titen de Bronze was the first factory that I worked with, and they gave birth to Black Star Line, bro.
So that's one of my favorite factories too. And Sandy's probably one of my favorite people in the industry. She's
That's
fantastic.
my cigar mom. Yeah, I always call her my cigar mom.
So okay, you're in Chicago, you're fighting fires on a daily basis. You're gonna I'm gonna launch a cigar line. So how did you hook up with El Teton? Like how did that all transpire?
So I started networking at Drew Estate events. So at the time, Jonathan Drew, he had the liquor line that he was bringing out. So one of the main spots he would hit was Benny's. So at
Okay.
the time, I was very fortunate to get in front of him several times because he kept coming back to the area and doing events at different Benny's locations, trying to push his liquor line. So every time he would come, I would go talk to him, and he's the one that told me about El Titen de Bronze. So I kept calling down there, and Sandy wasn't in the factory because her mother was sick. So
Mm-hmm.
kept calling, still didn't hear anything. So then I was like, hey, I'm gonna send some flowers to her, wish the family well, wish her mother good health, and then also keep me on her mind. So still didn't hear anything. So it was like maybe like 2 months after that. It was like a voice in my, I was sitting out here smoking, and a voice in my head was like, man, you need to call right now. So I called down there, and Giselle, Willie's wife, answered the phone. So I asked for Sandy, and Giselle was like, yeah, here she is right here. So Sandy gets on the phone, I told her who I was, and she said, you were the nice guy that sent me those flowers a couple of months ago, right? And I was like, yeah, that was me. So she said, hey, you know how to treat a woman? So I'm gonna do those blends for you.
Oh
So
wow.
Black Star Line was, came about through pure persistence and then me sending some flowers.
That's awesome, man. I mean, what an
Mm-hmm.
incredible brand. So I mean, what an incredible factory to start off with and everything. So it starts to take off for you, and then how do you hook up with Aganorsa Leaf? That's the next spot for you, right?
So yeah, so I became very acquainted with Sean Williams from Cohiba,
Mm-hmm.
and he's actually my mentor. So he came to Chicago, and so I went to his event. And I was just hanging out with him. So he said, "Hey, what do you want to do with Black Star Line?" And I was like, I love El Tito Nebrons, I do. But due to the fact I'm buying tobacco in America, that bumps the price up tremendously. Like my original cigars when they came out, they were $16, $17 a piece coming out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, I was like, it's expensive. So he's like, what do you want to do? You want to work with Aganorsa or Placencia? He named a bunch of different factors. So I'm a fan of Kyle and Warp. And at the time, Kyle was working with El Tito Nebronze and Aganorsa. So I said,
Right.
hey, I think I wanna rock with Aganorsa. So Sean said, give me a day or so and I'll get back to you. And excuse me, he got back to me the very next day and said, hey, I talked to the VP of sales of Aganorsa. His name is Terrence Riley. He's waiting for you to call him. He wants to work with you. So I said, great. So I called him, and Terrence, sure enough, was like, hey, what kind of blend are you looking for? So I gave him two blends. One's a blend I never used, I didn't like it. The other blend was Warwich. So when I got the samples, man, I was blown away. The way Warwich is now is the way it was in sample mode. I didn't have to change a thing to it. It was just special from Jump Street.
Oh, nice.
And sure enough, I was right, man. When I put it on the market, it became the flagship of Black Star Line, and it just became the driver and pushed us, and it got us a lot of accolades, and it got us a lot of attention, because it's a Connecticut shade wrapper with Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's a 6x46 with a soft box press on it. So, but it doesn't smoke like a Connecticut though, like your grandfather's Connecticut, like a Romeo and Julieta, or some of those old school brands that made the mild, boring Connecticut's. This one has strength to it, has a lot of character, a lot of notes in it. It was phenomenal from Jump Street. So that became the driver, bro, and then that encouraged me to keep developing lines through Aganorsa Leaf.
So are you still I know we're gonna get to some of your newer blends with some other factories here in a moment. We already mentioned a
Hmm.
couple at the top, but are you still making cigars at El Titan in addition to Acanorsa or
Not right now. I'm gonna go back eventually. I just got to wrap my mind around that price point that they have. But
yeah.
because it's high, yeah, it's really high.
Oh, it's gonna be even
And
higher.
I,
It's gonna be even higher now. Like 16 to 17
oh
dollars
yeah,
back when you started was high, but now it's
yeah.
gonna be even
Oh, it's
more.
inflationary times, brother. We live in an inflationary time, so every factory goes up almost every year.
It's nuts.
You know, and their prices on tobacco. Mhm.
All right. Well, so I all your cigars have some really cool stories behind it. We're going to get to the one of the projects we mentioned earlier in the show too. But what's the name? What's the story behind the name War Witch? Where does that come from?
Warwitch is a movie. It's about a young lady that has spiritual powers to see her ancestors. It was filmed in the Congo in Africa. So the local army took her with them, and anytime they would be potentially get ready to get attacked, the ancestors would actually show up and warn her, so she can warn the general or whatever. So I thought it was a great movie, and I was like, it's a great name. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and borrow that name and put it on the cigar.
Nice.
Mhm.
Oh man, this is smoking phenomenal. This is really good. I'm really enjoying this. First time I've ever had it. I'm really
Mhm.
enjoying it. And I'll be candid with you, Aric. The I've like there's been a lot of stuff out of Back Norsa lately where I feel like it's kind of missed the mark a little bit. There's still some of my favorites and some of my staples that come out of
Mhm.
that factory,
Yeah,
and some of
yeah,
the new stuff and everything. This is fucking money though. Like holy shit.
yeah. What the difference is it's my palate. My cigars are based off of my palate.
Right.
Whereas what they develop is based on
Right.
whoever's palate that's
There.
smoking it, and whoever decides that I don't know how they decide what they're going to put on the market or not. But
Yeah.
the cigars that I do are the blends that I do, and every blend is based. Any blend I put on the market, and it doesn't matter what factory it is, it's based off of my palate. If it doesn't pass me and my team, we're not putting it out.
So speaking of your palette, I knew for a while you were actually I don't know if you're still doing it, but for a while you have a flavored cigar line
Yeah, I
that you
discontinued
did.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You were doing it
Mm-hmm.
like you were doing it in your own place, right? Like you were actually
Bro,
making.
I was infusing everything myself. It was a chore. You know, yeah, I infuse them myself. I dry them out myself. I store them myself. Like it was a lot. A lot of people like them. I don't smoke infused cigars at all. I actually did them because people would come to my events and they felt like my regular production stuff was too strong for them. Some of them were newer smokers or that type of thing. So I was like, all right, well, I'll try my hand at the infused stuff. And they were, according to the people that like that type of cigar, they loved them. I just got tired of doing it. So, and I don't want to be known for infused cigars. I want to be known for my core stuff and limited edition cigars that I put out. So, I uh, I made the decision to. I was like, I'm just gonna leave that aspect of the business alone. And then that whole FDA is attacking infused cigars still and that type of thing. They have actually banned them in California.
Right.
So I was just like, well, if they do end up getting rid of infused cigars, it won't hurt me any because that's not a core part of my business.
Yeah, there you go. Plus, like you said, the labor intensiveness on that and the fact that you're doing it
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, since you don't in smoke, so you weren't even were you even sampling your own stuff?
I used to. It got mind numbing to me. I couldn't stand to smoke them anymore. So I
Oh
would
yeah.
have people that like infused cigars. I would have them smoke them and tell me when they were ready. You
Mm.
know. But yeah, I used to taste test all of it, and like I said, it was hard for me to do it because the taste of the liquor that I couldn't take it.
Mm.
So I was just like, I'm gonna stick to just natural tobacco with nothing added to it.
I will enjoy an infused cigar here and there. Um, you know, um, I the acid Big Bang, to me tastes like smoking a s'more. I'll drop one of those every once in a while and stuff, and then there's a few others out there that I'll enjoy from here, here and there. The Sweet Jane from the Deadwood Tobacco, True Estate,
Hmm.
also.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy them on occasion. They're more kind of a palate reset. for me. I don't know,
Okay.
just to kind of enjoy here and there and everything. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'm with you. I think in very early in my time, I definitely made fun of people who smoked infused cigars. So that was my immaturity speaking. But man, they have a place, and you know they're responsible for bringing a lot of people into the fold, man. So you gotta give credit
Yeah,
where credit.
Acid is one of the number one selling cigar in the world.
Yeah,
I think it's the Cuba Cuba, if I
yeah,
remember right.
the acid Cuba Cuba, man, just insane. Yeah, my to this day, I started smoking cigars with my brother, my younger
Okay.
brother, and he smoked cigars with me for the longest time. And then I introduced him randomly to an acid blondie, and he hasn't gone back. He that's all he smokes is infused cigars. He kind of went backwards a little bit, but I mean that's what he enjoys, man. So like, hey, I
Hey.
don't knock it. I don't knock it at all. Well, that's cool. So you start making cigars out of Aganorsa,
Hmm.
and then this past year was pretty busy for you. You introduce a couple of new cigars, and then you also make a pretty big business decision. You end the direct to consumer component of your business.
Yeah.
That's always kind of an interesting point in a company's timeline, right? So I mean, for
Hmm.
like, why did you decide to start doing direct to consumer, and then what and ultimately led to the decision to cease doing that?
Well, coming out, nobody knew who I was. And I didn't have any lounges really outside of underground, you know. So I needed a way to be able to get the product out to people, you know. So that's why I started off selling direct consumer right out the gate. So a lot of people, you know, I would post on social media a lot, and people would find my website, and then they would buy, you know. So that was initially the way that I really spread the word about Black Star Line. Then we grew like crazy and picked up a whole bunch of lounges. So the website started to slow down more because a lot of people like instant gratification where they don't want to wait for the cigar to come in the mail. They just buy it locally. And
Mhm.
that's good because they're supporting their local brick and mortar, and you know, and it keeps their brick and mortar going. Then furthermore, I started hearing when that there were bigger lounges that they were very interested in picking me up, but they would not pick me up if I was selling direct to consumer. So
Yeah,
Abe at Smoke is one of them. Abe Froman at Embargo in Phoenix, he's another one. And then the other ones, they never had the courage to tell me to my face that that's the reason why they weren't carrying me. So I had to make a decision. I was like, hey, do I keep selling online myself as well as in the lounges, or just strictly let the lounges take over? So I chose to let the lounges take over. So I just sell directly to lounges. I sell wholesale to lounges, and I let them push for me now because I you know we're at about 100 lounges now.
that's great.
5 years in, yeah, we're about 100 lounges, and you know that's a good number for 5 years in.
That's pretty
You know,
fantastic, man.
yeah.
And yeah, for in your 5 years, I mean, you're coming up on what we've done. Kind of, Coop and I have done an independent study on this. We find that like the 7 year mark kind of really establishes a brand. So you're coming
Hmm.
up on that pretty hot, man. But you're doing fantastic stuff. You're partnering with some great people,
Yeah.
and some great retailers, like you said, have picked you up and everything. Again, we had this mentioned. So Underground's the OG. That's the original one. They obviously still carry
Hmm.
your stuff. We're a couple other key places around the country where people can pick up your cigars, and if they're not around a lounge to go in and get them, like you said, that instant gratification. What about
Hmm.
some ones that we know that do mail order?
Small batch, Pravada, Black Line Luxury in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You can get it from there. Um, Oakland Tobacconists in California, they all have online sites and they all carry them. So those are just a few that off the top of my head.
Yeah, small batch is one of my. I feel like small batch carries everybody. It's funny they call themselves small batch, but then you go on there and you can get Monte Cristo or Black Star Line, like everything from Black Star Line to Monte Cristo. It's crazy how they have
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
they're really good people. We mentioned Benny's. I mean
Yep.
that had for two. You've had them for 2 years now, so I guess you got them
Hmm.
3 years into the business. That's a huge
Yeah,
account for your store.
that was a big win for us. They support us wholeheartedly. And as you stated earlier, we've done so well there that they asked me to do a special cigar for them. That cigar is called John Baptiste.
Hmm.
Actually, they rated it number one for 2023, and Rosewood got number six.
That's
And
fantastic.
for 2022, Dark Warwick that you're smoking now got number three, and Lalibela got number 10. So yeah, the cigars sell extremely well there.
That's awesome. Um, Vinny's is a great organization too. They do some fantastic partnering. I mean, I know they're known for their liquor sales too, but man, they do some really great cigar work. It's fantastic. I really
Yeah,
love their organization. Um, Jean Baptiste, that's a really cool part. That was actually done this past year too, that you did with Benny's, correct?
yeah,
2023.
yeah.
And
Yeah, it's a Corojo 2012 wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler, and that one was rolled by Aganor Salif.
that's Jean Baptiste is named for the founder of Chicago, right?
Yeah, John Baptiste Point du Sable. Yep, he's a Haitian man, and a lot of people didn't know a Haitian guy actually founded Chicago. So I wanted to pay homage to him,
That's great.
and and just give everybody a bit of Chicago history.
What what uh what what is your ethnicity and lineage? Did your family come from Africa, the Caribbean? Where's your family from? Do you know?
Nah, my family is from Louisiana, but I did a DNA test, and my mother's side is from the Mende people from Sierra Leone,
Okay.
and my father's side is from the Bamileke tribe, and that's in Cameroon.
Okay. See, the scar roots, man. Cameroon all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Grow some good
Mm-hmm.
tobacco in Cameroon. That's fantastic.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the your last name was intriguing to me because I didn't I've I've honestly never heard it before. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I love the unique spelling of your first name too, which is interesting. Names are always are I find very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's cool. So I wanted to ask that so so the special cigar, the Jean Baptiste with Benny's this year. You released
Mm-hmm.
the Rosewood, and that's done with a different factory as
Yep.
well. And then you also partnered with Tabacalera de la Isla, Costos's
Mm-hmm.
factory. So
Yeah,
what?
Ostos, yeah.
So what? So okay. So you moved from El Teton. That was a financial decision. You wanted to be
Mm.
able to. So you come to Aganor, so you start partnering with them. What led it to the other decision to go into some of these other factories and start working with other people? And now Lazona will be the next one that you said will be
Mm.
coming out later this year.
Well, with Oveja Negra, um, James Brown was one of the original ones that I approached to try to when I was looking for a factory to work with me initially before I got with LT and the Browns. And James Brown just shut me down. He was like, "Yeah, bro." He's like, basically, he's like, "I don't know you. We got this FDA stuff going on. We can't do any business." So I said, "Fair enough." So I kept it. This is all via email, so I actually kept that email as motivation. So um, I ended up running into James Brown at Underground at the NFG, like right when COVID started. So I saw him and I was like, oh yeah, let me go introduce myself to him and let him know, hey, even though you turned me down, I'm still here. So I had on a Black Star Line hoodie. So he saw the hoodie and he was like, hey, Black Star Line, does that have anything to do with Ghana? And I was like, yeah, it's more so Marcus Garvey, but that's where one of the places Marcus Garvey wanted to take people and goods back to. So I was impressed. I was like, yeah, you know some history. He was like, bro, I lived in Ghana for
Yeah, he
like
lived
4 years.
there.
So,
He's
yeah,
got a
so
cool
he was like,
story.
yeah. Yeah, he was like, I know a lot about Ghana and the history, and there's other companies and teams named Black Star Line over there. So then, it might have been about a month later, Black Label Trading Company started following me on Instagram. So I was like, oh, that's cool, you know. So about 2 weeks after that, James sent me a message in the DM on Instagram, and he said, "Hey, man, I've been following you for a couple of weeks. Been looking at your page." And he was like, "For pretty much a brand new company, you're doing a fantastic job branding your page out." And he was like, "Based on that, you can use Oveja Negra anytime you want." So I was
Nice.
like, "Wow," So our relationship deepened basically off of my Instagram posts.
Mhm.
So it took a while for us to get the project going because he was expanding the factory. So he finally hit me up and said, "Hey man, I'm ready to rock with you. Ready?" And I said, "Hell yeah, let's go." So initially we were going to do a Ghanaian theme for the cigar, but the name Rosewood kept popping in my head, and I just didn't understand why. And then I ended up it was in January of 2023. So I looked up Rosewood, and lo and behold, it was the 100-year anniversary of Rosewood, and it was almost like the ancestors were telling me, like, dude, call that cigar Rosewood because it brings a lot of meaning to it. It brings the power from the ancestors that lost their lives in that race riot. So I was like, yeah, bro, we gonna scrap the Ghanaian theme for now. We got to go with Rosewood, man. And then like I said, it also pays homage to John Singleton. So
Mm.
so that's why I named the cigar Rosewood 1923.
I know we talked about this before the show launched everything, but like I before I read the actual release, I saw the branding on it, and I was like, man, that looks straight up. That
Yeah,
looks straight up like Oveja Negra, something that James Brown did. And sure enough, that's who you were working with on it. I was like, oh, that's
yeah,
perfect, man.
yeah. The
Um,
Cigar Dojo does all my branding for bands and boxes, and they nailed that. So. Mhm.
Looks fantastic. So Jordan's behind that.
Jordan and Aric.
Mhm. Yeah, Jordan does some really good work. I really and Aric as well.
Mhm.
They're fantastic. They really
Yeah.
understand marketing incredibly well, and branding is
Hmm.
something that they do. Um, that I really enjoy some of their projects that they do, and some of the stuff that the limited cigars that they put out. And I know you they're a really big fan of your work too. So I mean, how long have
Hmm.
you guys have like have had a partnership for a while too? I mean, they
Yeah.
jump on pretty early as well, or has that just been in kind of the last couple of
Mm,
years?
the last couple of years, I've been a part of Dojo for maybe 3 years or so, and I've been on their show a handful of times.
Hmm.
And they told me I was actually down in Denver, and I was on the show live, and they said it live. They said the reason why they wanted to do the branding and stuff for me is they just said they knew it was something special about this brand, and they wanted to have a part in my journey. And
That's
they
cool.
they have a huge part of it now, because they redid the bands for Warwich, they redid the bands for Lalibela, they did the band for Fahrenheit, Rosewood, all my stuff is through them.
That's awesome. So, yeah, Mr. Fahrenheit's the that's homage to your time on the as a firefighter.
Hmm. Hmm. He also pays
That's
homage to Freddie Mercury because he
and
sings
Freddie Mercury.
about Mr. Fahrenheit and "Don't Stop Me Now" for Queen.
Hmm.
So that's where I got the name from.
I really like the stories behind your names, man. Like they're really cool stuff, and it's like a lot of them are dual themed as well. Like
Hmm.
Rosewood, obviously the riot, John Singleton. Um, Warwich has an incredible story that you explained earlier, and then the Lalabella. What's the story there?
Lalibela, the stone churches that were built into the ground in Ethiopia. So if you Google the images of the actual churches, they're phenomenal structures. Like honestly, I don't know whoever built them and carved all that out. They're geniuses, you know. So it should be one of the wonders of the world, in my opinion. And a lot of people don't know that those churches even exist. And so now that's my way of giving people a bit of history and having them while they're smoking a cigar, they can look up the churches and look at it and read about them and that type of thing.
Do you know Nick Melillo from Foundation at all?
Yeah, yeah, I know Nick.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that guy's an encyclopedia of Ethiopian history, man. Some really
Hmm.
that guy's
Hmm.
he's such a he's such a fascinating person. I love talking to Nick every chance, and like him and I have like a really nice bizarre kinship around
Okay.
history and stuff. And I mean, you know his like his love of it goes back to his love of reggae music, which has
Okay.
obviously roots in Jamaica. Jamaica has roots from Ethiopia, and so he kind of just followed the train backwards and just fell in love with all these different cultures and stuff. He's such a fascinating individual. I love him.
Yeah, he put Haile Selassie on the band of Tabernacle, I think it is.
Tabernacle, yeah, hmm,
Yeah, I think he's friends with the family of Haile
yeah,
Selassie.
yeah,
So, hmm.
yeah, and Lord Carnarvon of Highclere Castle. Like, I mean, he's
Hmm.
like just
Hmm.
he's all over the place, man, with some really cool stuff, great connections, and just incredible stories and stuff. But like I said, I just really have enjoyed the branding that you've done with your cigars and everything. Really
Oh,
excited to
thank
see
you,
what the
brother.
project with Lazona, what you do there. Like you said, you'll have that available at PCA. Is there anything else
Yeah.
that you're doing for this year's PCA here coming up in a few weeks?
Yeah. So the name of the one from my zone is called Maroon, Marun. That's Yoruba, so the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria. That's in Yoruba, Maroon means five. So I went real simple with it. It's the 5th year anniversary stick. It's a Sumatra wrapper, Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's gonna be a 6x50 Vitola, and it's medium full strength. And then also I'm bringing out new sizes of Lalibela and Dark Warwich. So the Lalibela Lancero 7.5x40 is coming, and then Lalibela Robustos 5x50. And then Dark Warwich is a pig size, is a pig perfecto. So it's a 4.75x60.
Oh, nice. That was going to be my next question because, like, most of your cigar releases are just single vitola until what you just mentioned, correct?
Yeah, but that's a money factor, bro. I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have money to bring out 8 different sizes for every
Gotcha.
blend and all that. Yeah, I gotta
But
bring it out in one or two sizes, and then let the money build up, and then I add from there.
I think that to your point about that, though, why necessarily it's a financial decision that also allows the quality of the cigar to like really you can concentrate on one cigar, one vitola, what like the blend and because that's one of the I mean that's what I mean frankly that's one of the biggest challenges a lot of manufacturers deal with is
Mm-hmm.
when they release a cigar, they find a blend that's a winner for them and then they're releasing it across three or four lines or three or four vitolas rather. And I mean it's complicated and it's time
Mm-hmm.
and to your point it's money, like it's a complicated process. I mean it's um,
Yeah.
so this kind of has allowed you to like really perfect the cigar in each vitola that you've launched it in, and then the subsequent add-on vitolas that you're going to be adding here later this year. So
Hmm.
that's cool. Well, fantastic. Well, well, Aric, well, I've really enjoyed talking to you about some of these items. Um, but before we get into there's a last we have some sponsored segments that we go through to kind of conclude our show, so we have some few fun, well, I call them my
Hmm.
fun segments. So some are
Hmm.
cigar related, some are not, but this first one is
Okay.
absolutely not. So and don't worry, it's multiple choice, but we're doing a little bit of presidential trivia, which is our United Presidential Trivia segment, which is always
Okay.
brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, the Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Atabey and Byron lines. So smoke one today and start living united. Now, Aric, you come from Chicago, Illinois. There have been four presidents that have come from Illinois. Of course, most notably Abraham Lincoln and Barack Obama, but believe it or not,
Right.
Ronald Reagan. There's a
Mm.
fourth, and that's who our question is revolved around. But I'm going to give you free reign. Do you know who the fourth president is from your state?
Off
Off
the
the
top
top
of
of
my
your head.
head, no.
Ulysses S. Grant.
Mm.
So, all right. So
Hmm.
that's who our question is about tonight. Ulysses S. Grant, cigar smoking president. So fantastic. Good for him. But what cigar producing country, modern day, modern day cigar producing country, did Ulysses S. Grant try to annex into the United States while he was president? Was it A, Nicaragua, B, Honduras, C, Ecuador, or D, the Dominican Republic?
Mm. Guessing, I'm gonna say Dominican Republic.
That's a very good guess, and that's absolutely right. So he tried to annex the Dominican Republic to the U.S. because for a few actually different reasons. One, there was is a military base. He also wanted it specifically as a sanctuary because he was obviously the president during Reconstruction, so you had thousands upon thousands of freed slaves, and he wanted to
Hmm.
have a sanctuary for them
Okay.
and as a market for U.S. goods. So
Mm.
Uh, he actually had a treaty that was already approved by the Dominican people, but it actually stalled in the U.S. Senate, and so it actually never came to fruition. So obviously, that's why the Dominican
Mm.
Republic is not part of the U.S. But um, he actually yeah, and it wasn't even because Grant was a Republican. It wasn't even actually the Democrats that opposed it. It was actually his own party. So Charles Sumner, who was
Wow.
a fellow Republican and senator at the time, divided the Republican Party, killed the vote, and the
Hmm.
Dominican Republic is the Dominican Republic and not U.S. Dominican Republic now. So
Right.
about that.
Okay.
Um, so obviously you've spent time in the Dominican and in Nicaragua as well. What and factories in both? I mean, is there three factories in Nicaragua, one in the Dominican, one in the U.S.
Hmm.
What are some of the biggest different? I won't ask you the stupid question of which one you like better, but like what are some of the biggest differences between what you've seen of cigars manufactured in the Dominican and versus Nicaragua? I know every factory is different, so it's kind of hard to nail down. But what key things have you noticed about the differences in the countries, the way they produce cigars?
Um, I didn't see a huge difference between the two. A lot of the processes were the same, how they ferment stuff and how they age it, and how they package it and everything. They were pretty similar, between Esteli and Santiago, Dominican Republic. Now the cities were definitely different. I like Santiago better than I like Esteli. Santiago was more modern. Like they have Uber Eats and stuff like that. You won't get that in Esteli.
Yeah,
And then I don't eat meat, so it was a lot more stuff for me to eat in Santiago as opposed to Esteli. You know. So, but yeah, factory wise, it wasn't a huge difference between the two.
yeah. Oh, what got you into the Tabacalera de Isla with Hostos? Was it how did that relationship blossom?
He reached out to me on Instagram. He's gonna go to PCA and he asked could he come by and meet me and drop off samples. So I said, yeah, that's cool. I get that from a lot of factories, and I had never heard of La Isla. And then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I have heard of it because Kyle from Warp. He does work out of La Isla as well, the Chinchale, and
Mhm.
that's one of them that came out of it. And I actually didn't like the Chinchale, and I typically like everything Kyle makes, but that one didn't. It didn't hit my palate.
Yeah, same,
Um,
same.
it was. I heard it's sold out everywhere, but it just wasn't for me. So that kind of frowned me on the factory initially. Then Ostos came by my booth, PCA, and we got to talking. He asked where my cigars were made at, and I was like, my cigars are made at Aganor Salif. And he said, "Oh, well, Terrence Riley is my cousin." So, so that
Yeah,
that opened me up to
that,
be
that
more willing to work with him. So I just did a little investigation on him, like he did investigation on me, to see if it would be a good fit for us to work together. And it turned out it was a good fit. And so I put Fahrenheit together. Fahrenheit was originally called NFG 23. It was in a Robusto size, 5x50, and I released it at an NFG 2023. And it was one of the top cigars for the whole fest. So that's what prompted me to bring it out nationwide. My loyalty to Underground is, I bring out new stuff through them first, and then I release it everywhere else after that.
okay.
So
It's kind of like
yeah, so
your test to the
yeah,
community.
oh yeah.
Nice.
So that's what started my relationship with La Isla, and it's going strong. Like I was just down in Dominican Republic a couple of weeks ago and put together some new blends down there, and they're young, but they're phenomenal already. So I'm excited to see how they're gonna smoke a month, 2 months in, see how they change and how they age and how the flavors develop and everything. So I got one that's a banger, and I damn near want to like green light that project right now, but I still got to go through my process and keep smoking it over time to see how it changes over time.
Mm, that's awesome. I'm glad that relationship is continuing to bear fruit for you. You
Oh
mentioned
yeah.
this. This is something I was going to talk to you about as well. So you mentioned how you don't eat meat. So are you a
Hmm.
vegetarian or are you a vegan?
I'm a vegan when I'm at home. If I'm on the road, I'll eat cheese sometimes,
Okay.
but I won't eat meat though. And I won't eat a lot of cheese either because I'm lactose intolerant. If I eat too much of it, it tears my stomach up. So I have to eat it sparingly,
Interesting.
Like if I'm in the Esteli or Santiago, yeah, I'll eat some cheese. But if I'm at home, I could kind of control the intake of the dairy.
Mhm. Do you try other cheeses like sheep's milk, like manchego or blue, like goat cheese or anything like that, or
Yeah, it's all cheese to me, bro.
it's all
It's
cheese?
all the same.
It's all
Yeah,
the
it's all
same.
the same to me.
I mean, they're all meat products, obviously, so it really
Hmm.
falls and stuff. But I mean, have you been vegan for a number of years? Has this been something that's recent or
It's been about 15 years now, bro. Long time.
long time?
Hmm.
What prompted the change in the lifestyle? I mean, I'm always interested with.
Well, I stopped eating pork back in 1991, and that's because I was a big follower of Malcolm X and reading about him, and he talked so bad about pork and all that, and then scientifically, it's not good for your body. So I stopped eating pork in 91. I stopped eating beef because I got sick eating beef twice. So I was like, I'm gonna cut that out. And then I don't know if you remember, it was the big oil spills in the ocean, and I was scared that the fish was gonna have three eyes like on The Simpsons. So I stopped eating fish. I was down to chicken and turkey, and I read this book called Skinny Bitch, and it's about vegetarian and vegan lifestyles. I read through that, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just done. So I cut out the chicken and turkey too, and I haven't gone back. Hmm.
Interesting. Do you miss it at all, or are there times that are like,
Nah, not at all.
it's just been so
Uh,
long?
yeah, it's been a long time. Like I would eat. It's a restaurant here. It's a real popular fried chicken restaurant called Harold's. I used to eat that all the time. And then when I stopped eating meat after a certain time, I would go around, just driving in the parking lot of a Harold's, and it didn't smell like chicken anymore. It just smelled like grease. So I was like, wow, that's what I was eating. So yeah, no, I don't miss it at all. My wife, she eats meat, and I tried a little bit of her salmon one day, and it just tasted chewy, and it didn't do anything for me. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. You
Hmm.
know,
What is your
so
day? What do you typically like dine on then? What's your some of your go-to meals?
I don't have a go-to. I mean, a lot of vegetables, a lot of beans. Eat tofu. I drink my protein shakes are made of pea protein.
Okay.
So my protein shakes are made out of peas. So I have a protein shake in there. It's 50 grams per every 50 grams of protein for every serving.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I get plenty of protein. So that's not an issue at all. So and it keeps my blood pressure down, and a lot of stuff that black people are affected by because of the stuff that we eat, a lot of fried stuff, and a lot of that stems from like slavery and all that because the slaves weren't given good food to eat; they were given scraps, and they just made do with what they had. But when things change, they still kind of ate the same way, and then that's where a lot of disease and stuff comes from, is from what you're eating, and then lack of water, lack of exercise, that type of thing. So.
Interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I know we went off on a tangent there, but that was part of our presidential trivia segment, which is always brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giana Havana, distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, the Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Aric Bey, Byron, and now Alfonso lines from Selected Tobacco. Smoke one today and start living united. So this next segment, we're talking about food. This is a perfect segue into our next segment, which is our Everybody Eats segment, sponsored by Postania Cigars. If you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Postania Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Postania, everybody eats. So I have a series of questions in this segment that I always just pick one for my guest each week, Aric. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this one at you. What is uh the food or dish that you like to make and share with other people? And
Mm.
since you're a vegan, I figured this might be a unique one, a nice unique take on what you'd like to share with other people, because it's probably something that a lot of us don't necessarily gravitate toward on a daily basis. Because I love meat, so I mean, and
That's the tough.
the cigar industry does too. Like, I think we all have I think there's
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. I think there's an unhealthy obsession with bacon. I think people are way too obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I love bacon. Don't get me wrong. But I think that people are way too obsessed with it. So, but yeah, fire away.
Well, that's a tough one because I actually cook at the house almost every day. So it's a different meal almost every day. I get a lot of my recipes off of Instagram. I follow a lot of different food sites and all that stuff on there. So I take their recipes and I make it. What I made tonight was it was like an orange chicken, but the chicken was made with chickpeas, and then we had roasted Brussels sprouts with it, and then some quinoa.
Okay.
So yeah. Hmm.
Nice. Nice. Fantastic. That sounds good to me.
Hmm. Yeah,
I,
it was good.
there's a lot of vegetarian dishes that I like quite a bit, and I love a lot of like like I'm really big into beans too. I really like beans. I really like
Mm.
lentils. I could get down on some
Hmm.
lentils, man. Like
Yeah.
really good stuff. Split peas,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and unlike most people, I think a lot of people would like will make split pea soup and they'll like throw a ham hock or something in there. I like just the split peas by themselves, man. Like just seasoned really well and just cook them down and
Yeah.
stuff, and they're fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You put some liquid smoke in there to add a little smoky flavor to it.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
just thinking that. Yeah, you could do that with no problem. Um, so well, here's an interesting question because there's anchovies in it. Do you use Worcestershire sauce at all, or do you stay away from it?
They have a vegan version of it. So I use that.
Oh shit. Okay. Of
Hmm.
course there is. Yeah, okay. Didn't even think about that. I guess there would be. Uh
Hmm.
and I think it's probably a lot easier today than, you know, back. Well, I mean you've been free of meat just for a few years now, but I mean like back in 1991 when you started, I mean it was probably a lot more difficult and stuff because,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, in 91, I was still eating other meats. It's just pork was the first one that I cut out.
yeah.
But when I went like vegetarian slash vegan, like it was like Boca burgers and it was like, yeah, it was terrible, bro. So, but over the years, and there was no social media and all that. So it was hard to find recipes and all that. But now it's everywhere. Almost every restaurant has at least one or two plant-based meals, because they don't want to miss out on any money either, and they want to have people that come to everybody be able to enjoy something at their restaurant.
Hmm.
So it's a lot easier now.
What's your like since the show has been the trade show has been in Vegas the last few years and stuff. What's your favorite restaurant to go to in Vegas that could obviously that obviously has good meals for someone with your diet?
Um, we always stop in Yardbird,
I love
because
Yardbird. Oh,
yeah, I get the sides,
hmm.
so the sides are phenomenal. I just don't bother with the meat. So I usually do like a company dinner there. It's like I appreciate the people that come and help me and all that. So I take them out to dinner at Yardbird.
I love Yardbird. Oh God, it's one of my it that is my I know like people will choose like Bizarre Meats and some other like steakhouses and stuff. Yardbird is
Mm.
my favorite restaurant in Vegas, hands
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
I fucking love
yeah.
that place. Um,
Hmm.
but speaking of pork, though, that's the one dish I can't stand. It's
Mm.
their smoked ribs. I can't. I like I don't. It's some kind of spice blend that they use. I'm just like, nope, nope,
Okay.
nope, nope, nope. Doesn't
Hmm.
work. Doesn't work. I'm out.
Yeah.
Fried
So
chicken,
that's
on
the
the other
main
hand, is
thing
good.
about cooking. Period. It doesn't matter if it's vegetables or meat. If you don't season it right, it's not gonna taste good.
Yeah, yeah. But everything else there is fantastic. Holy cow, so good.
Mm.
Um, well, that's great. I was gonna ask another question about this specifically. It'll come to me.
Mm.
It really does. I guess obviously it wasn't that important, but um oh yeah, the so desserts like are do you have a sweet tooth? Do you like any particular not that meat finds its way into too many desserts, but like do you have a sweet tooth at all or because it seems like you eat
Um,
pretty healthy and everything. So
Sometimes it depends. I like Reese's cups. I'll eat pies like apple pie, ice cream. I'll eat ice cream, whether it's dairy or not. They have vegan ice cream now too. Even Ben and Jerry's makes vegan ice cream. So I'll eat ice cream every once in a while. But like, once again, like I said, if I have too much dairy, I'll be gassy and my stomach hurts and then my wife doesn't want to be around me because it just stinks because I'm farting all the time. So I try not to go too crazy on it, even though it tastes good.
Mhm. Um,
Mhm.
oh, that's what I was gonna say about. So yeah, I'm a huge burger fan. I love burgers. But one of my favorite burgers of all time. I'm gonna have to get. I'll get the name of the food truck and I'll send it to you next time you're down. They were up here in Fort Worth, and I would go
Okay.
and see them all the time. And they made incredible other burgers. It really didn't matter. Every time I would go there, I would get their vegetarian burger.
Okay.
It was a beet burger,
Yeah. I love
and
beats.
and they and it was fantastic. It's so freaking good. It was so
Yeah.
stinking good. And then they moved down to Austin, so I haven't had it in a few years, unfortunately. But that's where they are now. So I'll get the name. I have it. I follow them still on Instagram, so I'll grab it for you and I'll send it to you. But next time you're in Austin, you got to check it out, man. It is a
Okay.
phenomenal burger. Holy cow, it's so good.
Okay. And what
Um,
I'm smoking here is actually the NFG 24.
okay,
And this one's a roll by Tabacalera La Isla.
okay,
So it's a Sumatra wrapper with a San Andreas binder and Nicaraguan Dominican filler, 6 by 52, medium full.
and that just happened, right? The
Hmm.
G Fest.
No, it's March 9th. So it's
March
coming
9th,
up.
coming up. I know it's at the beginning of the year, so
Hmm.
they always do it here in the first quarter and everything. So that's exciting.
Hmm.
Right before
Hmm.
PCA, so you're going bang bang back to back, man. Two big events.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, March is gonna be busy for me.
Does your wife accompany you on these trips, or does she stay back at home?
No, she doesn't smoke. Like she was smoking a few cigars. If she comes to one of my events, but that's here in Chicago. She doesn't travel with me. I've invited her several times, but she's here with my daughter and that type of thing. So
Yeah, you got the
need
9 year
somebody
old
to
at
take
home.
care of the house and all that stuff. So
Yeah, you got the 9 year old at home. Yeah, stuff that. Like how many days out of the year do you travel?
mm, I don't know days. I'm in 2 cities a month,
Okay,
and yeah, I don't know. Last year I did 100 events, bro. So yeah, days. I'm not sure.
okay.
Hmm.
So about a third of the year, you would say, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, awesome. Well, that was our Everybody Eats segment, sponsored by Pastania Cigars. It's always, if you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Pastania Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. Pastania, everybody eats. Just a couple more questions before we conclude our night, Aric. And another great
Mhm.
segue, unbeknownst to you. You know, you talked about events and time with people and time with family and everything.
Mhm.
And that's what's great about smoking cigars. You know, you and I are smoking a cigar tonight together. It's done virtually, but we typically smoke cigars with people. That's what's really great about the cigar community. It's done with people. But every so often we get to smoke alone. And that brings our Asylum moment of refuge. Our next segment is brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than just a physical place, it can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars. So light up an asylum and choose your refuge. So this segment, Aric, is about just that this a moment in time and smoking a cigar. Again, we tend to smoke cigars around people all the time. We're always about being around folks, about the community. But every so often, whether it's just simply a moment of reflection, maybe it's a
Mhm.
celebratory event, you know, whatever, we find ourselves grabbing a cigar and smoking alone. So you've
Mhm.
probably had several of these moments in your lifetime.
Mhm.
So what's a moment that comes to mind where it was just you smoking a cigar? Maybe you were listening to music, maybe you were watching a movie, maybe you were doing something else. What was that moment about, if you can remember? And if you can remember, what was the cigar you were smoking?
I smoke by myself all the time because I this is my man cave, so it's a detached garage from my house, and my wife she knows this is my area, so she doesn't really bother with out here. So I come out here anytime I want to think and just be alone. I'm always listening to music, whether it's R&B, rap, or rock, or classical music. I listen to damn near everything. Um, and it's just time for me to reflect and see what am I doing in my life that I need to do better. You know, and what can I do for Black Star Line to make it better? Or I'm out here thinking about blends, or I'm smoking samples, or those are times that I'm out smoking by myself. Um, a lot of times it's samples because I'm out here I'm constantly developing things. even when I'm cooking meals, I'm tasting the seasonings and all that stuff because I'm trying to strengthen my palate to different tastes of stuff that I'm using to cook. Um, or I'll switch up from whiskey to wine because the wine has different aspects than whiskey, and that helps to build my palate as well. So a lot of what I'm doing is just all palate driven, and me making myself better by sitting and self reflecting on what needs to happen next. Um, who I need to call next, or did the bands make it to Nicaragua or Dominican Republic? Those are the type of things that are going through my head when I'm smoking by myself. Or I'm just simply out here just enjoying some music and I just want to get out of the house and I don't want to go to a lounge in Chicago.
Interesting. Um, so you said you find yourself doing that quite a bit and everything. What's if I may, like what's a recent epiphany that you've had in one of these moments of reflection that kind of has changed either the course of Black Star Line or has really affected your life? Oh,
For Black Star Line, it's more so that we need to make sure that we selling out these products before they even make it into the States. So that's what we've been focusing on now. And I actually, Mike Rosales was over here smoking with me in the garage, and we were talking about that. And he told me, he was like, man, if you're starting to sell the product when it's already in the warehouse, you're behind the eight ball, bro. It was like you need to really start pushing and talking to the retailers and making sure that they're buying before it even leaves the factory. And then by the time it gets to the States, it's already sold. Then I can go and re-up and start the whole process again. So that's one of the things that we've been working on is making sure that we're letting the retailers know, like, hey, we got a whole new order coming from Aganorsa. I got 30,000 cigars coming from Aganorsa in mid-March. So we've already been working on selling them out. Like Lalibela Robusto is almost sold out already, you know. And it's a new size and it's not even here. It's still in at Tapsa. So that one's almost sold out. Fahrenheit just came back. And when it came back, we already had 90 back orders for it already. So that one's moving fast as hell, you know. And then everybody's getting the word about Maroon. I haven't dropped a press release for it yet, but people are buying Maroon already too, and they just started rolling it. So I put that plan into effect so I can get my money back faster, and then I can get more product on the market faster too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is like the biggest challenge of starting from scratch? Like you said, you shopped around, you tried to find a partner, took a while to get with El Tito de Bronze, and that's led to these other relationships that we talked about in this entire conversation and everything.
Yeah.
Apart from that, like what do you think has been the biggest challenge for you starting a brand? And here we are 5 years in, and has been the biggest challenge for you?
Just getting the word out because there's thousands of cigars to smoke.
Right.
So you have to make sure that your brand stands out amongst all the other brands that are out there. Another thing is, and it's unfortunate, it seems like a lot of black companies that want to be in the business, they're not going about it, whereas they're actually developing a product. They'll go and buy bundles from Orlando or Tampa or something and slap a band on it and then start selling it. So then I have to differentiate myself from people that are buying existing blends that may be sold in Florida and Texas somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And, you know, so I have to distinguish myself from, like, I call them band owners because they didn't develop the cigar. It was already some existing blend that somebody's just selling, you know. So I deal with that a lot, and that's why I never hide what factory that I come out of, because every factory that I work with is very notable in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So they know if I'm coming out of those factories, I didn't just go buy some bundles, bro. Like the product was developed, it was rolled, you know. So it was made from scratch. You know, it wasn't somebody's existing blend and I just bought it. Every blend that I got, it came from my mind. So,
Um, you mentioned that, I think we have to talk about it, but I didn't really want to make it a focus of tonight's piece because I really wanted to talk just about your personal story, your
yeah,
personal cigars and everything. But Sean Williams, you mentioned your mentor. He kind of started, in some way, form, or fashion. He was probably, if he wasn't the first, he was one of the first black
yeah,
brand owners and cigar manufacturers and blenders too. You know, I know he's done a lot of blending his own as well.
Hmm.
But there isn't really that many. What and you might have touched on it just now when you were kind of talking about. Do you think there's a reason for that, or do you think because I mean, I feel like there's a very and this might just be my ignorance. I'm obviously not a black man,
Hmm.
but I feel like cigars are very prominent in black culture. There's a very strong black contingent of cigar smokers, and there's obviously a
Yeah.
market for it.
Hmm.
Um, why do you think there's not that many black cigar making, I'm gonna mouthful here, cigar companies that are owned by black individuals?
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, there was a list that was put out of a bunch of black-owned companies, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to say there's like 170 of them. It's just they're unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, it's the process of how they went about the company. Like some of them actually do get their cigars real. Carolina Blue,
Yeah,
Chris is the owner. He develops his cigars.
right.
I know Emperor's Cut comes out of La Aurora, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's
De-
just
Desiree with
some
Drunk
people like to take a
Check-In,
lot. Yeah,
you
and then
know.
a lot of people, like to take shortcuts. Like when I came into the industry, I didn't just come in. I went and did my homework. I went and I sat with Skip and Mike from Romer Craft. I talked to Lito Gomez. Pete Johnson sat with me. Um, Sean Williams. I met Sean Williams and Skip and Mike on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
At an event. And at the time, I actually didn't know who Sean Williams was, but he's giving me advice early on as well. So Jonathan Drew, he's another one that gave me a lot of advice from inception. That's why we're friends now. So the way I went about it was I went and sought out a lot of the brands and the owners of the brands that I was smoking at the time, and I got their advice. And that's largely a part of why Black Star Line is so successful is because I did the work behind not just starting a company and slapping a band on. I went and did the work and got advice from all these, in my opinion, they're titans, you know. So I went and talked to some big guys, and they gave me everything that I needed, and I ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I still seek them out. If there's something I'm confused about or something I think I'm doing wrong, like you mentioned, Postania. Yeah, I call Mike up, and me and Mike talk at least twice a week.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine. So I have a lot of people in my corner that really want to see me win. Boofy, he wants to see me win. He's a great friend of mine. He told me, he was like, man, man, I'm honorary Black Star Line. Anything you need, I got you. So, you know, Carlito told me to my face that he was like, bro, he was like, I follow you on Instagram. And he was like, man, you breathing new life into the cigar industry, man. And
That's awesome.
that almost brought a tear to my eyes because Carlito's the man.
Yeah.
For Arturas Fuente, he's the man. So I've
Yeah.
I've I've gained the respect of a lot of people from not only just asking for advice, but then they see the work that I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
after they gave me the advice and they saw what they gave me. It wasn't, it went in one ear and out the other. I listen to everybody and I take something from everybody and I implement it with Black Star Line.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, like you said, you mentioned as Titans. Like, I think in a word, that's tremendous work that you've done. You've put in a lot of the hard work, as you mentioned. You've networked with some of the more successful people that have done it. You know, like you mentioned, Skip
Mm-hmm.
and Mike, and Sean. I mean, Sean's got an incredible story. I
Yeah.
I I still think El Primer Mundo is probably one of the most underrated cigars for the time that he ran it.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a good cigar, bro. Good cigar.
he had some great blends.
Mm-hmm.
Whole, the Epiphania. Holy shit, that cigar was fucking
Mm-hmm.
fire.
Yeah,
And
Lugione helps me out a lot.
Lara Menard. Yeah,
But
Louisiana. Dion's
yeah,
fantastic for that.
yeah, I'm distributed by Lugione.
Hmm. Right.
So I get advice from them all the time. I'm on the phone with them almost daily, So they help me out a lot. They believe in me wholeheartedly. Everybody does. So I can't let anybody down. So yeah, the
I,
advice is not wasted.
and I think you did a really great job there too, Aric, to be honest, like you mentioned Underground was the first start. Like they've got an incredibly strong community, as
Hmm.
we've talked about as well. Like that was a huge thing for you. And then and that's a community that believes in small companies too.
Yeah.
Like you're not
Yeah.
like he brought you on blind faith of just the factory you were working with. That just happened to be a coincidence. But they
Hmm.
do that. They do really latch onto a lot of small brands that nobody's ever heard of,
Yeah.
and they bring a lot of small brands attention, which is really great. And then what I love what Dion's doing with Louisiana, his distribution company, he's bringing a lot of small market companies to the
Hmm.
light with you, to market, which is really great. And I think it's because he saw what a battle it was for him, and he's
Hmm.
someone
Hmm.
incredibly prime, knew what he was doing. He's got probably the most refined palate in the industry, arguably.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, a cigar brand that is incredibly well respected. I mean, people
Yeah.
talk about Epernay, synonymous with some of the most iconic
Yeah.
cigars in the industry. And
It's
so
all
I
I can
think,
know. Leaf.
yeah, I think he saw the battle that he went through, and that's why he's helping out individuals like y'all. And I think that's
Hmm.
great. That was a great partnership choice by you as well.
Yeah,
So
Terrence and Eduardo, they help me out tremendously too. And if I need to bounce something off of Terrence, I'll call him or text him, and he'll tell me his perspective on it, and then I'll make a decision.
yeah, yeah, some great people in your corner, Eric. That's fantastic.
Hmm.
Well, sweet. Well, or we are towards the end of our show. We got one last question for you.
Okay.
And again, but before we get there, Eric, I just want to thank you so much for your time tonight, man. I know we're both
Anytime,
Central
brother.
Time, but I know it's late on a Sunday evening. You mentioned how much you
Hmm.
travel. Got a big month coming up where you're going to be spending
Yeah.
time away from your family, your daughter,
Yeah.
your wife, and for you to spend an evening with me, it really means a great deal to me. So
Hmm.
it doesn't go unnoticed, and I'm greatly appreciative. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anytime, brother. Anytime.
So that leads us to our last question of the night, which is our Dunn Barrett Tobacco and Trust curveball segment. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter since the
Gee.
company's inception. Steve Sock has been knocking them out of the park. Count them up, everybody. Nine consecutive years in the consensus top three, including the number one cigar in the consensus this year. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka.
Hmm.
All right. So here it is. I think you may have said it, and you can certainly correct me when you told the
Hmm.
story about being a firefighter. But I have to imagine that last day on the job when you sustained your injury was probably the worst day on the job. Maybe I'm wrong. But what was it about? Well, obviously, that spearheaded a career into Black Star Line where you launched yourself into full force. And so that opened up a huge door.
Hmm.
Have you had a worse day in the cigar industry? What was it, and what doors did it open up for you?
Worst day. Well, as a young company, you always struggle with money. So that could be numerous days for me. Because the thing is, yeah, I sell a lot of cigars, but every bit of money I get, it goes right back into cigars. So until I can get off that merry-go-round, that's still a tough day for me, you know. The last order I placed with Aganorsa was for $100,000. So that's for a young company, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent $100,000 with them last year too. For a young company, man, it's tough because everybody sees like the final product of me selling the cigars and it's fun at the events and all of that, but they don't know that all the profit that I make for it, it literally goes right back into tobacco, whether I'm bringing out new sizes or I'm working with another factory or I'm just re-upping on the current product, because if you take too long to get the product back on the market, then people start to forget about you. Because, like I said, there's thousands of cigars out there, and people are, if they can't get what they want, then they go on to something else. So, it's tough. It's really tough. It's a tough business. It's very cash intensive. You know, paying for the bands, paying for the boxes, because that's all those costs are separate from the tobacco. You got to pay the S chip and all that stuff. So tobacco business is very cash intensive, and if you don't have the capital for it, then you might not last that long.
Yeah, it's it is very expensive, and
Hmm.
to say nothing of the money that you're forking over, but it's also a money game in the sense of, like you mentioned, when you launch with El Teton de Bronze, brand new company right out the gate, you're selling cigars for higher than average, the $16-17 cigar. I mean, I'll give you an example of this, Aric, and I feel like this is, and I think they've found success in their own right,
Hmm.
but I think they would be a very different company if they had started off differently. And that company was Ezra Zion. At the
Ah,
time
yeah,
when
yeah,
they
yeah. I
launched,
know Chris.
yeah, when they
Hmm.
launched, they were, $12-13 cigars, which
Hmm.
which at the time was, in your world, was the 16 or 17. So they were at the upper
Hmm.
echelon, and a brand new company that no one ever heard of, and they're selling, 12, 13, $14 smokes. And while that's average today, at the time it was very expensive. And that was really hard to, because
Yeah,
I was working retail at the time. That was really hard to get into people's hands
yeah.
and make them realize it. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I feel like that would have been a much different company today had they been able to start it in a different place.
Yeah.
And so, but I think, where to give credit where credit is due for you, I
Hmm.
think you realize that very quickly,
Yeah.
and you're able to make some really nice adjustments, make some great connections in the industry, and
Yeah.
to where you were able to get some cigars that were more in the wheelhouse a little bit.
Hmm.
And that's probably why you've found some pretty nice success. Where do you see the
Hmm.
future of Black Star Line? Like, what would you like to happen in the next 5 years? When you're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Black Star Line, what do you envision seeing it being?
At least 200 lounges. I would like for Cigar Aficionado to acknowledge that I exist. you know, Cigar Journal, those type of publications, because you get a lot of press and a lot of notoriety by being acknowledged by those organizations. Um, and then just selling a shit ton of cigars and having a good time, bro.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Do you think you'll be are you international currently, or are you only in the States?
Only in the States right now. Now, I
Okay.
did enter Tobacco for the first time 2 years ago, and we didn't get a distributor while we were there. And so I didn't go last year because I had to make a decision if I was going to spend that money to go over there and possibly not get a distributor at all. Again, I was talking to David Blanco while we were there in Dortmund, and he said he had to go to enter the bag 5 years in a row just to get his first order through a distributor. And as he's saying that, I'm doing the math in my head of what I spent for that one trip and multiply that by five. And I was like, well, so you saying I'm gonna have to spend close to 30 grand before I can get, you know, a distributor to pick us up. And that's a pretty penny,
Yeah.
to just go over there and just market, you know. So I made a decision not to go this last year, but I'll be back there this year. So
Interesting. Okay. Well, good luck with them. I mean, hopefully you'll break that streak and you'll find a distributor this time, make that worth it for you. That's great.
mm-hmm,
Awesome.
mm-hmm.
Well, great. Well, Aric, thank you so much once again for your time tonight. Really enjoyed our conversation. Really enjoyed getting to know you, talking about your journey and
Same
everything.
here.
Um, just a fantastic story. Just really terrific. Really excited to see where the success is. Really excited to smoke that cigar that's coming out of Lazona. Can't wait to write
Oh
up
yeah.
the Rosewood later tonight, as I'm kind of editing the show and everything. I'll be doing some work late and everything, but
Mm,
I do greatly appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks at the PCA, so that'll be good. So,
indeed.
but
Mm-hmm.
for everyone out there, we really do appreciate everyone that was tuned in tonight. If you are checking us out on our Facebook Live page, we broadcast live here every Sunday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Time. You can also check out our YouTube channel on ELOSOFUMAR. Hit the subscribe button while you're there. But if you're listening to us later, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts, be sure you download, subscribe, and review. If you already are a subscriber, do me a favor, hit unsubscribe, but don't forget to hit resubscribe. That actually helps my numbers and boosts me up the list. So, and that's the only reason Aric agreed to join me tonight, was he saw how great my numbers were. Just kidding. That's not how the conversation went at all. But please download, subscribe, review. Don't forget to review. And if you do think I'm terrible, like the 1 star rating that you give me, be sure to leave a comment so you can tell me why I suck. because that feedback is pretty invaluable. I really would like to know why you think I'm terrible. But for everyone out there, really do appreciate all those comments. Keep them coming. And we'll have another great show for you next week. Can't wait to see Aric at PCA. The march towards PCA comes in just a couple of weeks. We'll be out there doing some great interviews as part of the Cigar Coop Coalition. Yeah, well, everyone, that we're going to go ahead and call it a night. This was our 281st take. Done 281 of these. It's incredible. We're marching towards 300. We'll be there by the end of the year. As always, this is Bear Duplessis live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. He's Aric Bey. I'm Bear Duplessis. Guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.